Okay, this video is called How to Get Better Fast. And where this comes from is, I've gotten some pretty good things happen recently. I've been offered jobs at some places that are good. There's logistic reasons why I can't take those jobs, but I would love to. Also, I've had the experience that more and more big shot doctors are coming to me for medical advice. And it's kind of funny for me to talk to these big shot doctors because usually everybody goes to them. They're coming to me for advice. And some of the things that are funny is the way regular doctors think. Their whole brain is programmed. Obtain diagnostic tests, blood tests, imaging tests, form a diagnosis or differential diagnosis of what it could be, and then do more tests typically, and then finally treat it with a drug or a surgery. Okay, and the reason that's funny is I don't think that way, okay? What I say is most of these diseases are manifestations of the same thing, crappy diet and exposure to toxins and poor health habits, sleep deprivation, stress and all that. So here's how I talk to them. I say, okay, you want to get better fast? Everything in the body heals better with good blood flow. So then the question becomes, how do you improve blood flow? And here's what's funny. All these big shot doctors, they can't answer that question. How do you improve blood flow? To me, it kind of reminds me like of the difference between psychology and Christianity. Okay, at first glance, people say Christianity is stupid. It's a religion. It's based on faith. Psychology is based on science. And I say, oh yeah, oh really? If you ask a psychologist for relationship advice, why don't you ask him this question first? What's the difference between a man and a woman? They can't answer that question. Christian can answer that pretty quick. Johnson versus a Virginia. That's easy. What's an example of a good book? Christian can tell you a whole bunch of good books real quickly. Les Miserables, by Victor Hugo, Brothers Karamazov, Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, okay? Quo Vadis by Henry Sienkiewicz. The psychologists will say, well, I'm not in the business of judging literature. Oh, okay, thank you. Well, can you give me a person who's your hero? Who's a good role model? Who should I emulate? What man or what woman for the individual? Oh, well, I don't really, make that judgment. That's a very judgmental situation. I don't think that's appropriate. Okay, fine. Christian can tell you real easy. Imitate Christ. Imitate the saints, okay? Or other great Christians. It's easy. They can answer all these questions. What is great art? The psychologist says, oh, I can't really make that judgment, or they'll recommend the Modern Art Museum or some BS like that. The Christian will say, Raphael, Caravaggio, Michelangelo, Edmund Layton, John Everett Millay, and a whole bunch of other ones. And, Arnold Freeberg. Okay, so anyways, the reason I'm trying to say is that's how it is too with nutrition versus conventional medicine. Conventional medicine gives you a list of drugs that don't work. Okay, so improving blood flow helps everything to heal. All right, well, how do you improve blood flow? Minimize dietary fat so you don't get rouleau formation, blood sludge. Minimize things that are going to cause vasoconstriction, so minimize dietary sodium. Minimize things that are going to raise uric acid, like any sweetened beverage that's going to raise your high fructose corn syrup, or again, animal foods, your meats, and beer and things like that, alcohol. Okay, so I of course, same old diet, low fat, low sodium, vegan diet, whole food. You want whole foods because then you're going to get more potassium, you're going to get more magnesium, you're going to get the plant nitrates. Those all vasodilate, so you open up the arteries, get more blood flow. Avoid all those fat foods, even if they're plant fat foods. No oil, nuts, seeds, any of that stuff. Okay, so that's kind of funny because I was laughing. These big shots, they never heard anybody talk this way. I know surgeons, they don't know how to improve blood flow. It's rather obvious. Avoid all this stuff, alcohol, MJ. You want to go to zero, not a sip of wine or anything, zero. The reason I say zero is because let's say your body has the ability to heal 2 steps up per day. Well, if you have one bad habit, alcohol or something else, you're knocking that down to 1 step, and you have 2 bad habits, you knock it down to 0, and then they start thinking nothing's working for them. Well, that's because they're not stopping the bad habits. The body is trying to heal nonstop every day, but it can only do so much each day. So you got to get out of its way by avoiding all these bad things. Let's see, what else? For example, Dr. McDougall used to say, if you don't know where to start and you want to get healthy fast, eat 90% of your calories from starch, 5% from fruits, 5% from vegetables. Okay. And he even said the ultimate in nutritional therapy. Don't say you've tried everything you can do with nutrition until you've only eaten sweet potatoes for 4 months. Okay. Keeping something warm will improve blood flow to it. Okay, the next question is, you want to get good blood flow to the organ. Then you also want, and so make sure you don't have overtreated blood pressure, dropping your pressure down, your perfusion pressure of the tissues, okay? You want to get good immune function. Well, how do you improve immune function? Minimize dietary fat. And you say, well, what's the proof for that? Well, that's been shown by a lot of people, but if you want to see a good lecture on the subject, you can go to Global Immunotalks. There's a lady named Lydia Lynch. She's an Irish PhD lady. She was at Harvard. Now she's, I think, gone to Princeton. But she just goes through how fat paralyzes the immune system, and it can't function effectively, okay? It also causes diabetes, insulin resistance. Diabetes causes immune dysfunction, okay? You want to avoid acidosis, okay? Acidosis comes from eating high meat diets. You also get a low-grade metabolic acidosis from eating a lot of salt, sodium chloride. You're going to get the chloride anion displacing bicarbonate pH buffer in the blood. That's going to lead to low-grade metabolic acidosis. So you're going to avoid acidosis. Notice how all these good things are happening from avoiding animal foods and from avoiding sodium chloride, the salt, okay? Get some exercise because that improves lymphatic flow 10 to 30 fold. The lymphatics are a parallel vascular system around your regular vessels, but they're not connected to the heart. They move by you exercising, and they work by Braille to go around and feel and remove the problem to help the person to heal. So you want to get that exercise. Exercise also are a sleeping pill. The more you exercise in the day, the sleepier you're going to be at night. Now, you don't want to overdo it. When I say exercise, I mean just in moderation to whatever's appropriate for the person. The healthier you are, the more you should exercise. Within reason. You don't need to go run endurance sports, but, jog 2 miles, okay? Go up extra steps. Do extra walking on a treadmill. Do something to just challenge yourself physically, and you will sleep better. Try to get 7 to 9 hours a night of sleep. Go to bed earlier tends to be the main rate limiting step for most people because we tend to wake up at the same time every day. So just like you set a time for getting up in the morning so you can go to work, set a time for going to bed at night and try to really meet that timeline so you get your sleep. Okay, get some sunshine because it helps to set your circadian rhythms, maintains your vitamin D level, your immune system functions better with adequate vitamin D level. Okay, so all of this stuff is going into enabling you to heal more effectively. You get good blood flow to the tissue and you have your immune system functioning well. Now, immune system needs to be able to turn its mitochondria or its aerobic metabolism on and off. When things are good, the immune system is aerobic. It's using oxygen to metabolize, make energy. But when it has to go deep into a wound, that's going to be hypoxic tissue. So the immune system has to be able to run an anaerobic metabolism. But it's important that it can switch back over to aerobic metabolism when things are cool, okay? So if it can't switch back over to aerobic metabolism, you'll have a tendency for prolonged inflammation. So some things that help it to do that is, avoiding mitochondrial inhibitors. And I've given extensive talks on this. I'm actually like the world expert on finding over 100 mitochondrial inhibitors. I think my best lecture on the subject would be over at VegSource just recently. So if you go to VegSource, look at my mitochondrial lecture. I got all the mitochondrial inhibitors in there. And you avoid them. So it's not rocket science. Because I was laughing because I'm talking to these doctors, and these guys are the top of the top. These are not even like top 10%. These are the top 1% of doctors I've been talking to lately, helping them with their health problems, which I find kind of funny. And they're laughing their asses off too when I tease them about conventional medicine. And anyways, what I'm trying to say is, I basically said, look, I gave you a list, go through the list and avoid all these things. It's not rocket science. And they've never even thought of mitochondrial inhibitors before, so it's very funny to see them kind of a little bit like, oh, okay. All right, then the next thing I told them, a lot of problems are estrogenic. Sometimes you start out with a problem. You'll start out with lymphadenopathy. And you don't know where it's coming from first, okay? So if you're dealing with adenopathy, depending on the location of the adenopathy, you have to think about what causes enlarged lymph nodes. Is it metastatic cancer? Is it an infection? Is it some weird rare disease? Okay, is it a disease of the lymphatic system? Okay, and there's a lot of cancers that are characteristically metastasized through the lymph nodes. Squamous cell carcinoma, testicular carcinoma. Okay, so anyways, let's say you're worried about a patient having testicular carcinoma. Well, you would want them, it's an estrogenic sensitive cancer. You would want them to avoid all these estrogenic chemicals. Well, there's tons of estrogenic chemicals all over the place. It's in all the processed food. It's in the animal foods. It's in the personal care products. It's in the tap water. So you got to filter your tap water with at least a carbon filter to get the estrogenics out. I made a long list of all the estrogenic chemicals and how to avoid them. So that's the next thing you should do. Get my list of estrogenic chemicals and avoid them all. Get my list of mitochondrial inhibitors and avoid them all. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell them. So people say, oh, tell somebody to eat the vegan diet. Grandma could tell me that. I need more sophisticated medical information. I'm like, spare me the BS. I'm giving you real sophisticated information. Here's 100 mitochondria inhibitors. Avoid them. Here's a whole bunch of estrogenic chemicals. Avoid them. I've given you a list. Here's what causes insulin resistance. Avoid these things, okay? And then the next one is don't have non-specific additional inflammation for no reason, like leaky gut. So then because then you get all the bacterial endotoxins and whatnot across your gut barrier into your blood, and that causes systemic inflammation, which distracts your immune system and will decrease your immune function. So I made a list of all the stuff that causes leaky gut. So you want to avoid all these things. It includes alcohol, includes oil, unnecessary antibiotics, tap water, fluoride, and chloride. Okay, and aluminum. So you want to avoid all those things. So I was kind of having fun with these guys too, because they're super smart, these guys. And I'm telling them, here's list number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Now just go do it. Okay, so let's see, what else did I tell them? Oh, lowering your stress levels. You got to figure out for yourself what it takes to lower your stress level. Get your sleep, avoid caffeine, avoid unnecessary stress, avoid negative people, try to be around positive people you like, your friends, to the extent that's possible. Prayer, Christianity, Christian music, laughter, comedy. Watch comedy movies. Don't watch the news. The news is run by people that want to, then the next word that's going to come is sigh, the Christian population. So they're not going to cheer you up, okay? They're not your friends. And, sometimes just doing nice things for other people that makes you feel better. So whatever it is for you as an individual, like my mother, when she had cancer, she went and did a pilgrimage to Medjugorje. She was on the board of directors at an orphanage. She was a minister of care at the church. She loved playing tennis. She was a tour guide at an architectural place, old-fashioned architecture that she loved. So anyways, all those things made her happy. And she lived a way outlived, 11 years when she's only given a 2 to 3 year prognosis of likelihood to survive. I screwed up because I didn't understand all the other things I could do to help her. That was like 30 years ago. But anyways, this is a way to give yourself a better chance of getting better fast. Hopefully this will help.